Hello there, welcome to Inquiring Minds. My name is Doug and I'm back with today's fountain pen review, the Messerschmitt ME262. No, sorry, the Pineider Modern Times. It just looks like a Messerschmitt, doesn't it?
Oh, Rose, there's a Messerschmitt in the kitchen. Clean it up, will you?
That's because the pen's designer, the redoubtable Dante Del Vecchio of Pineider pens, was inspired by the shape of the fuselage of the world's first jet engine fighter, the Messerschmitt ME262. Joost Appelbaum and I interviewed Dante for Joost's podcast Appelbaum Bites a few weeks ago. You should watch that video by clicking right up here. Dante talks about the design of this pen, and Joost told him that he should send one to me because I'm not a fan of triangular grip sections. Well, he did just that, and here it is. So, do I finally like a triangular grip on a fountain pen? Well, let's find out right now. So some of you might have seen the Appelbaum Bites podcast where Joost and I interviewed Dante Del Vecchio of Pineider pens. And during that interview, he introduced the Modern Times Pineider and graciously offered to send me one for review. And it has arrived. So let's take a look at it. Comes in an outer black sleeve with silver foil stamp. Pineider Firenze, 1774. Box does not want to open. And inside of the sleeve is the faux leather writing desk style case that I remember from my Pineider TTT twin tank touchdown. So it opens up this way with a magnetic catch. Ooh, nice soft black velvet type thing with Pineider foil stamped on the inside in silver. Booklet on the Tempi Moderni, which is the Modern Times. Dante has a penchant for naming his pens after various movies, like the Pineider Avatar. Well, I think this one, although he hasn't mentioned it, Modern Times is one of the most famous and most wonderful movies ever made by Charlie Chaplin back in the silent era. And here's the booklet for the Modern Times. So he talks about constant search for the perfect pen, and he talks about the inspiration being the fuselage of the first jet airplane, which was from Germany before the end of the Second World War. It was a Messerschmitt. It says the materials resin, quill nib steel, feather clip in marine steel, twist magnetic lock, and piston filler mechanism. And we flip this up, and there is the pen. Let's take it out of its sleeve, and there it is in all its triangular glory. Joost was teasing me that I have particular feelings about triangular grips, and so this being a triangular pen, put it to Dante that he should send me one of these so I could get my opinion. And I'm hoping that this pen will change my opinion on triangular sectioned pens. It is beautiful. I chose the black on black. It has the feather clip, which has a fulcrum kind of a mechanism to it. You can just see the spring inside there. It works on the pivot. It is a captured converter. It says it's a piston, but it's a captured converter. And there's the cap band. It says Tempi Moderni, Pineider, Napoli, Italy. And it is a magnetic closure with a silicone bounce cushion to it. And there is the triangular section, the steel number 6 size medium nib, Pineider, and there are those magnetic clasps, and of course it posts like a champ. Well, that's very interesting. I think I'll reserve my judgment until I've written with it, but that's very nice. So let's put the pen aside and see what else comes in the box. A card on Pineider stationery, some information about the model, the story of Pineider, Modern Times. It's the repeat of what was in this little booklet, and there's this little bookmark and a little pack of stationery, of course, from Pineider. Some cards and envelopes in various colors. It's a really nice gift style presentation. The presentation of this product is very, very nice indeed. So I shall find an ink for this pen, and we will put it through its paces. The Pineider Tempi Moderni, or Modern Times. I will show the parts and features of this pen, some size comparisons and measurements, and then provide a writing sample. And then I'll talk about what I like and what I don't like so much about this fountain pen. Thanks go out to Dante Del Vecchio for providing this pen for review. I don't think my friendship with Dante or his providing this pen for review will affect my opinion in the slightest. I already gave a glowing review of his Pineider TTT Twin Tank Touchdown fountain pen, and I paid full retail for that one. And you can see that review by clicking right up here. I've been quite vocal about my dislike of triangular sectioned fountain pens, especially the Lamy Safari. I think it's like training wheels on a bike. They are okay if you're showing the proper grip for writing when someone is learning, but should be discarded once the writer is able to write without falling over, scraping their knees, or eating their ink or their paste.
I glued my head to my shoulder.
Perhaps they should wear a helmet while they're practicing cursive.
Whenever we would have chess tournaments, I had to wear a protective helmet.
I tend to vary my grip depending on whether the pen is posted or not, and depending on the kind of pen it is, short, fat, long, thin, whatever. Being forced into a particular grip is counterintuitive to me. So when Dante said this is the most comfortable pen ever designed, well, I had to believe him because he doesn't ever exaggerate, does he? I mean, he did say you could run over an Avatar with a car and it wouldn't break, and he was right. I was anxious to try out this Modern Times. I find it fascinating that Dante tends to name his pen designs for Pineider after famous films like Avatar. I'm not a big fan of Avatar, but I am a big fan of Charlie Chaplin's Modern Times. The film was Chaplin's last portrayal of his famous The Little Tramp character. If you get a chance, watch this masterpiece of a film. Charlie's Tramp literally gets caught up in the machinery of modern technology. The Pineider Modern Times comes in 7 colors: black with black trim, black with rose gold trim, British racing green with black trim, British racing green with rose gold trim, French racing blue with black trim, Italian racing red with black trim, and ocean blue with black trim. And there are 3 nib options: EF, F, and medium, with the color of the nib matching the trim. And the Modern Times is also available as a ballpoint or a roller ball. So let's look at this pen. Overall, it is a big pen in length and girth. Here it is next to a Mont Blanc 149, which isn't a tiny pen, but any similarity to the classic cigar-shaped pen ends there, because Dante and his 3D computer design guru, Mattia, made one of the most unique and beautiful pen shapes ever. Here is Dante talking about the shape of the pen on Joost Appelbaum's podcast, Appelbaum Bites.
Exactly when me and Mattia designed the pen with the cross-section of the plane in front of us. So this was the original shape that took, let's say, a few hours when we decided that has to be the shape. So the cross-section of the pen is exactly the body of the airplane. Then I decided that the body should go, round to make it easy and usable. And then has to go in a ogiva shape because we need to sell and make something that has to be also nice. And this also resembles the front of the airplane. One of the key points was putting your hands and fingers in the free sides of the pen. And in a sudden, when I made with the 3D printing the first prototype, I said to Mattia, wow, Mattia, it's very comfortable, this pen.
With the shape of the first jet fighter in the world, the German Messerschmitt Me-262, in front of them, they created the essential shape of the Tempi Moderni, or Modern Times pen. but like his previous pen designs like the Visconti Divina incorporating the golden ratio and the Visconti Opera incorporating Da Vinci's The Vitruvian Man squared circle, Dante skillfully and artfully incorporated three classic shapes into the modern times: the ogiva shape, which is that arch, the rounded triangle of the Messerschmitt ME262 jet, and the circle. The pen smoothly moves from the ogiva or classic arched shape to the rounded triangle of the body and the section, and then tapers down to the end, which is round. This is not only a beautiful shape, it's a marvel of engineering. Like Yost and I said to Dante in that podcast, he envisions something that creates tremendous physical problems in engineering, and that's where the excitement and challenge comes for him. How to solve these design/engineering problems and stay true to the classic artistic vision. This is where the genius of Dante Del Vecchio shines. During the podcast, Dante asks us, "Why are pens round?" I facetiously answered, "Because we used to write with a stick." But the true answer is that it's easier to make them round, that's why. If we look at the top of the pen, we see the metal top finial, which is like the nose cone of the jet. Turn the pen up and you see the ogiva arched shape of the cap. That smooth shape seamlessly transitions to the rounded triangular shape of the main part of the body of the pen, and then smoothly transitions to completely round for the end piston knob that has a slight flare to it and a little bit of texture for gripping. The clip is a redesign of the clip on the Avatar. In this case, Dante has rotated the spring so it's vertical instead of horizontal. And this gives the clip a huge opening of 15 millimeters and allows one-handed operation, clipping the pen to a huge range of materials from thick to thin. And you can see two holes on the sides of the cap that hold the pins on which the clip mechanism pivots. The cap band has Tempi Moderni on the front-facing facets and Pineider made in Italy on the back. The triangular shape of the cap band makes stamping lettering into it a huge engineering problem. I don't know how Dante solved this, but it looks rather soft, like it was stamped from the inside. The cap comes off easily as it's attached with two magnets on the top of the section. The section is a rounded triangle with the top apex quite round and the bottom two apexes more acute and angled. But the whole section is very, very smooth to the touch. Dante said that this was the problem Omas made when they made the Omas 360. "Nobody likes to write with sharp edges," to quote Dante. At the top of the section is the removable nib unit with Pineider's number 6 size steel nib and plastic feed. The nib unit unscrews, and inside you see the inner sleeve of the section is polished brass, and you can see the top of that captured converter inside there. More on that in a moment. And because it's a single start thread on the threads inside the section, when you screw the nib back down, it stops precisely where it needs to, right in the middle. Being black enamel on steel, it's hard to see the engravings, but this is the same nib as found on the Pineider twin tank touchdown. Pineider is written twice, once in mirror image, and there's an M for medium. The inside of the cap shows the two pieces of steel embedded that stick to the two magnets in the section, and the top of the nib unit has a small silicone O-ring that helps seal the nib. Dante suggests when capping the pen, you give it a slight push just to fully seat that silicone O-ring to really seal the pen from evaporation. The pen fills by turning the knob at the bottom of the pen while the nib is in the ink. This isn't really a piston filler, it's more of a captured converter, and therefore the ink supply is limited to around 0.9 milliliters. From what I can see, the pen is not able to be disassembled, so to clean the pen you have to run water through it. Fortunately, you can remove the nib unit and clean that separately while running water through the open section and down into the captured converter inside. A blunt syringe helps a great deal with this maintenance. The cap posts deeply and very securely, and the cap is so light at only 8.7 grams, it doesn't backweight the pen's balance at all. It does become a fairly long pen, but the balance is not compromised. Unposted, the pen is plenty long enough to write with comfortably. And speaking of comfortable, that's the secret word we've been waiting for.
And if any of them say the secret word, they'll win an extra $100. This is the word right here.
Dante sent me this pen because Yost said I dislike triangular sections. So the question is this pen comfortable in my hand while writing? So I'm going to answer this in two ways. First, this is the triangular grip I dislike, and other grips like it, including the TWSBI Echo version with the triangular grip. Secondly, the Modern Times grip section is not this shape at all. It may be three-sided, but it more closely resembles the Martians from War of the Worlds than a triangle, and it's surprisingly comfortable. I defy anyone to say this pen doesn't feel comfortable in your hand. I even experimented with different, what I consider incorrect grips. I tried the thumb over, the death grip, and I even tried lefty grips where the hand hooks over the top, what Pen World editor Nikki Pesaroff calls hookers. There's so much smooth surface everywhere around this grip. I think most everyone will find a way to hold it that feels good. That being said, it does force the pen into an angle to the page that sometimes made me feel like I was fighting the pen. It actually feels like the new cruise control on my car that has lane centering, where the wheel gently guides you to the center of the lane. It seems I tend to lean a little left in my lane, and the computer keeps nudging me back to the proper center of the lane. So I either turn the feature off, or I go with the flow and loosen my grip and allow the car to correct me. It makes for a more relaxed feeling. So I tried that with my Tempi Moderni, and I found that if I just relaxed and accepted the angle the pen presented to me, I had a much more relaxed writing session. So I guess the answer is yes. The triangular grip on this pen is comfortable if you relax into it and go with the flow. The Tempi Moderni is available from a number of retailers right now for around $300 US. This is very expensive for a steel-nibbed fountain pen. But you have to look at what a design and engineering marvel this pen really is. So now let's look at some size comparison. Here is the Pineider Modern Times Captured Converter fountain pen with a Leonardo Furore Grande in Smeraldo, a Mont Blanc 149 in rose gold trim, a Visconti Opera Vertigo with the squared circle, and a Lamy Safari for grinners. Now let's look at them posted. And here they are posted, and they all post rather well. The Modern Times and the Furore Grande are very long when posted. Now let's look at them unposted, and here they are unposted. Of course, the Visconti Opera Vertigo has a magnetic cap closure, just like the Modern Times, because Dante designed both pens. Now let's look at some measurements, and I'll be back with a writing sample. And we're back with the writing portion of the review. This is Clairefontaine 90 GSM paper, and this is the Pineider Modern Times, and it has a number 6 size steel Bach medium nib. Let's check the wetness. The nib isn't a gusher, but it's nicely, well, decently wet, and it's very, very smooth with a touch, just a touch of feedback. The line is definitely thinner than I expected from a German medium nib, but it's nicely smooth and wet. And the ink is my favorite black, Roshizuku Takasume. I always say that wrong, Takasumi. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, just sue me. No, don't sue me. And this ink is so well behaved. I had put J. Urbain Shogun in this pen for a little bronzy punch, but the nib didn't like it at all. So I cleaned the pen out and I went to my standard, and the flow is just lovely now. As to line variation, well, this is a fairly stiff steel nib, so you're not going to get much line variation out of it. It's not a nail, but it's not a flex by any stretch. And the nib makes a 0.5 millimeter line, which is a Western fine or a Japanese fine to medium on my Richard Binder line width chart, which you can find linked in the description. And for our quote. And for some reverse writing, it's very smooth. A little bit more feedback and slightly drier, but it's very nice. And that reverse grip on the triangular section isn't too bad either. You got that flat platform for your top fingers, and it works very nicely. Interesting. And some quick writing. No issues whatsoever. That feed is keeping up very nicely. So what do I like and what do I not like about this fountain pen? Well, I have a lot of superlatives about this fountain pen. The innovations in the design of the shape and the engineering that went into realizing it physically are extraordinary. I think Pineider should be commended for giving Dante the freedom, funding, and latitude to develop such a challenging pen design for the retail market. The form is exquisite, but it doesn't overpower the function of the pen. In fact, form and function work together in harmony, which is the goal of every great designer. A pen that is beautiful but can't be held comfortably is merely a collectible work of art, and a pen that is functional but difficult to look at is a Lamy Safari. A pen that merges form and function so it can be a comfortable writer and be a work of art is a total design success. So now that all the superlatives are out of the way, I do have some concerns about the pen. While I totally understand the pricing of this difficult to engineer and produce pen, $300 for a steel nib fountain pen, while not out of the ordinary, is still high in my opinion. It is why I cannot recommend a Visconti Van Gogh, for example. It's way too expensive for a steel nibbed, metal sectioned cartridge converter fountain pen, but it's still $50 less than the Pineider Modern Times. Because the Modern Times is a captured converter, it has a limited ink capacity. And that isn't really that big a deal, as a lot of people like smaller ink supplies, as they like to frequently change their inks. But because the pen can't be disassembled, cleaning the pen is a little more challenging when you can't get at that converter. And lastly, because of the large size of that section, and the fact that you can't remove the converter to syringe fill it, for example, you're limited to which ink bottles you can use with this pen. You can't even use the Pineider pen filler as the section is too big. So if you like Ferris wheel press or ink samples, you're out of luck. But if you have a blunt end syringe, you can remove the nib unit and syringe fill the captured converter that way, as you can easily see the opening of the converter inside the section. That's a good way to clean the pen too. It's what I did. But there's no question this pen is a marvel of engineering and design. And if you are as much of a geek about design and engineering as I am, you'd love to have one of these gorgeous and unique fountain pens in your collection. I know I'll treasure this amazing fountain pen. Thanks go out to Pineider and Dante Del Vecchio for providing this pen for review. And there you have it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell to get instant notifications whenever a new video is posted. You can also join as a member of my channel for only 99 cents a month, and I guarantee I'll answer your comments in the comment section, and you'll get cool emojis, badges, and sneak peek unboxing videos as well. And that just leaves it for me to say thank you for watching. And that's all she wrote.
I made this.